this is my second time recording this. The shirt is not tied in as cute of a way as it was in the first video. I had to redo everything, the audio. I'm double mic'd today to avoid this garbage of a situation. But yeah, it's season 7 time and I am sick and tired of this nonsense. I swear to God, if the sticky notes are not gonna be sticky enough to stay on the wall, I will lose it. Usually I do a review of a season. This time I wanted to do it a little bit differently because I kind of have the same problems with season 7 as I do with season 6. At least they're kind of similar. So today I decided that we can play a game of where is the plot? Since technically it's for some reason nowhere to be found. To people who are new here, yeah, this is a kids show, okay? I used to watch it as a kid. I watched season 1 to 4. Then I aged out of the demographic, so I stopped watching it. But I decided to revisit it when I started doing deep dives into old shows on this channel. The first few seasons actually do hold up. It was quite surprising because I did not really remember a lot of things from those seasons, except for the fact that I did like them. And then I decided to review all the other seasons that I haven't seen as a kid, kind of expecting that the quality may suffer a little bit because that's what usually happens with shows as they go on. They kind of start to have a lot of plot holes, a lot of issues. With this show, it was kind of drastic, okay? Watching this season was a challenge. Not only did I have to watch this season, but I had to take notes and pay attention instead of dissociating wildly, right? So I hated the process. The show is made by adults, and regardless of the fact that it is for children, it should still make sense. Anyway, the way that this will work, we're gonna go through the entire season, and every time we hit a plot point, I'm going to put a sticky note on the wall, okay? Having no plot is a little bit too broad of a statement. I feel like I need to specify the requirements. Okay? Having no plot means having very few plot points. Plot point is an incident that directly influences what happens next in a story. It gives point to the plot, forcing the story in a different direction. For today's video, I'm going to also give sticky notes as plot points to character development. Move the story in a different direction. That's the purple sticky notes, and the orange sticky notes are for impact on character development, okay? Think of plot points as bolts holding your story together. If you don't have them, you just have a bunch of scrap metal. Episode 1.
Althea, here we are!
The song is stereotypically jungle themed. If you're familiar with Western animation or Western media, you will know what I mean by saying that it sounds like a jungle theme. We open with a scene that is so boring. At the same time, it is kind of infuriating if you are familiar with the characters, or if you're not familiar with the characters, you would still find it a bit insufferable just because of how typical and boring the writing is. Stella is presented as like this person who would force her friends to carry her bags after shopping while she's carrying one miniaturized bag, and everyone gets mad at her after they get off the bus, and it doesn't quite really make any sense. They were on the bus with her. They saw her carrying only one bag. So why are they surprised that she's carrying one bag when they get off the bus? Not only that, but Tecna has been miniaturizing things in the previous season so many times that it's surprising that they wouldn't do the same thing now. And at this point in their relationship, I really doubt that the girls would just let Stella do something like that, and I doubt Stella would never do such a thing either. I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense.
Stella?
And I swear to God, if you start typing, it's a kid show, blah, 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 in the comment section, I remember being frustrated by things like that when I was a child. So why am I supposed to pretend like children are too dumb to see this as stupid when I distinctly remember being annoyed by things like that myself? Everyone is always mad at Stella, and they just made her into an idiot. It's sad. The Winx are at Althea again. They come after shopping and they are sneaking into Althea.
Headmistress Farragonda is going to give us so much grief about this.
Even though it's not even nighttime and they have even taught at the school, why would they be sneaking into it? It doesn't make any sense. Like, the show de-aged them, but it didn't commit to it at all. And if we've talked about this multiple times in season 5 and season 6 and now in season 7, because it's just so confusing the way that they went about it. Technically, the timeline is still the same. They didn't take away their accomplishments. They did not erase their past development in terms of power, but they did erase everything else, while at the same time they still have the same amount of years that they've been dating, for example, with their partners. They have the same amount of years from the beginning of the story. It doesn't make any sense. It genuinely doesn't. You have have to commit to one or the other. You can't just do things like that willy-nilly, you know? Technically, they're supposed to be 23 to like 25 at this point. I just don't know how many years there were in between seasons to tell you for sure, but they're supposed to be that age because they did not actually de-age them, but they kind of did at the same time. It makes no sense anyway. They witness two Althea students running away from like big animals, and Fergonda like takes care of it and then tells them not to give them candy or whatever. The point is, we're introduced to Althea Natural Park. First sticky note. They have a bunch of endangered species from different realms that Althea fairies take care of. And honestly, the writing reminds me of stories that I wrote when I was like 8. Plot is just as clunky and dependent on wish fulfillment. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no actual point, no structure to the story. It's just things are happening because it would be kind of cute or kind of fun. There's no structure to anything. Because we're generous today, I'm telling you right away, I'm gonna be very generous. I gave them a sticky note for just introducing the damn park, okay? Finally, the writers remember about Roxy, as they should in an animal-themed season. We are told that the park is like endangered animals, whatever, but it's kind of weird because technically speaking, why don't they all go to their respective realms as guardian fairies and fix the issue there so these animals are not going to be endangered anymore? If you're saying like, oh, their natural habitat is destroyed and that's why they have to be there, well, they could fix that habitat, because just a reminder that Flora and Aisha fixed or revitalized an entire forest in like 3 seconds in season 3 with their enchantix powers combined. So I don't understand why they couldn't go and fix the source of the problem rather than just taking the animals away and trying to preserve them. Whatever. Also, it's been 3 seasons and Roxy still has the same outfit. Of course she does, because we're introduced to the villains and their design is kind of weird, in my personal opinion, just because it feels like they don't belong in Winx in terms of their look, especially Butterflix. I don't know, something about both of them is just not quite right for Winx, but at the same time, the changes to animation still make this show feel too different anyway, so whatever. The way that the villains are introduced is kind of terrible, I'm not gonna lie. They are just so unserious.
Welcome home.
Unthreatening.
Behold!
Uninteresting.
Oh,
I hate both of them. Butterflix's incompetence is just so frustrating. And like, maybe some kids love that stuff, but I remember that I didn't. When I was little, I found those bumbling fool characters really annoying. Anyway, episode 2. Oh, wait. Episode 2. In this episode, we are introduced to time travel in this season. Time travel is hard to do right in any show. Even those shows that are good and have like a very strong writing team, they oftentimes get things wrong or they kind of get caught in technicalities because there's just so much to consider when you play with time. It's okay when it's not quite accurate or there are some kind of issues or whatever, especially in children's shows when it comes to time travel, but they definitely just did whatever with this. It really doesn't make any sense. I kind of decided that you can see yourself what issues would arise or from this, so I don't think that I need to spend time explaining them. The way that they time travel is with colorful stones. Again, what the is up with later seasons of Winx and colorful stones? Everything is a colorful stone, god damn it. Or a colorful object is just matching the Winx typical color scheme. Bloom's flame turning into stones when she was giving them to the girls in season 6. These stones, the identical Cyrenix boxes with identical little worms inside of it. Identical outfits, identical phones, identical wings, whatever. Oh, then in the past, the Winx are trying to blend in at Althea, and Althea is a really small college. Why would they pretend that the girls could just walk around and play inside and no one would feel like it's weird? The Winx meet Fergonda in the past as like a young student. This interaction doesn't really change anything, but it did annoy me a lot just because of how many interactions they had with her. Them trying not to give away the fact that they're from the future, but they're not really trying. It doesn't make any sense that Fergonda wouldn't recognize them in the future. And like, the principal decided to erase all of their memories at the end of this episode to make sure that no one at the school remembers how they were training these animals or abusing them, in quotations. I don't know. It's like very blurry. The way that they talk about it doesn't make any sense because technically the Winx are doing the same thing in the future, but it's not considered to be abused, but in the past when they were like working together, it was. She kind of wants to erase these memories of them training those animals and their bonds and whatever, so they don't remember anything. The entire school, okay?
We'll erase all our memories so that no one can remember these unfortunate events.
So you won't remember anything?
Nothing.
That's a normal amount of authority to have over students. That's a normal amount of power to have as a principal. That's totally fine. Oh, by the way, they changed their outfits to blend in and Roxy's included. Isn't that crazy? Episode 3. In this episode, we kind of see what backstory Kalshara has and how she got her animal morphing powers or whatever. It's weird because the Winx are just sitting in class with everybody else, the old Althea, and they're like studying with them as if they could just waltz into the room, sit down, and that's like no problem. The Winx and Roxy save a fairy animal type, just like a bunch of them, who are digmoles. That's the name. Faragonda helps, and she kind of has a progression from someone who can't do things because of her inability to believe in herself to someone self-assured because of that. I'm giving her a sticky note. I told you I'm being very generous here today, okay? So we arrive at Butterflix. This transformation, man, it's like pissing me off. Butterflix makes no sense. When I was writing the script, it just pissed me off how many things are not working about this transformation. Why do they need Butterflix? Well, technically they don't, but then they kind of create a problem of like, oh, their powers don't work on Kalshara and Berphilius. Why? I know that they have the wild nature power or whatever, but it's not like, it's very wonky and not a good explanation. They should have come up with a better solution, a better reason for needing Butterflix. And the thing is, before I watched this season, okay, I heard that season is about animals, time travel, Butterflix, and Tynix, okay? So naturally, I assume that they needed Butterflix because of something that has to do with time travel, right? Because both time travel and nature, because butterflies are so heavily associated with time travel, changing events, causing the butterfly effect, right? Plus, it's all about nature, so it would have made sense to call it Butterflix and kind of explain it with this. And you want to tell me that it has nothing to do with it? The explanation or correlation was right there and they did not use it. This show was made by adults, right? Not a bunch of 3-year-olds. Like, they could have genuinely explained the reason as to why they need Butterflix is because when they travel back in time, they don't have their sources of power because either their planets were in a different stage of development or other fairies, guardian fairies, were the ones who were in charge of using that power at the time, or they're not connected to the power of that period of time or something like that. There's so much you could do to explain why they need Butterflix as like a power of nature of that particular time period, right? The way that they got Butterflix is also bad all around. The dog villain,
Dear God, where did you go?
Made a huge creature to attack the animals. The creature for some reason is like protected by nature. I don't know why it would be protected by nature. I know that it's created with wild nature powers, but then why would regular nature protect it? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so the Winx can't do anything about it. They free the Digmoles because, you know, the story demanded it, so they all of a sudden they were capable of doing that. Those animals like dug holes in this creature and the creature fell apart, and from the rubble of the monster that the villains created, the Winx get their butterfly power. Why? Why would it be there? Why would it be granted to Winx and not Roxy? Speaking of Roxy, it's been 3 seasons. 3 goddamn seasons. Her transformation still doesn't have a category. It's not Magic Winx because she got that power on Earth when magic wasn't returned to Earth yet. It was definitely either a Believix or a specific transformation that is very specific to Earth fairies, right? Considering that we saw other Earth fairies and we saw how big their wings are, while at the same time their outfit looks more like Magic Winx than anything else, it makes sense to assume that they have a different system of power. Like, yeah, this problem started in season 4, so it's not a problem of this season specifically, but I just don't understand why they couldn't make up their mind by this point about what they want to do with Roxy, right? And why a fairy of animals that did more work than most of the Winx for this particular mission didn't get Butterflix. Because this is her 3rd year at Althea. She was already a pretty powerful fairy because of her princess position, and it was kind of mentioned in season 4 that she's a powerful fairy just naturally. Considering that she's 3rd year at Althea and she's been through a lot of things during this time, why are we supposed to think that like she hasn't achieved at least some level of power that would be considered kind of like Enchantix? And the thing is, no one ever mentioned that you need Enchantix to get Butterflix. Like, there's no requirement for that. You just needed to prove yourself, or you needed to show this, blah blah blah. Basically, Enchantix was not a requirement. There's probably like some kind of base level that you need to achieve to get Butterflix, but Roxy would definitely have it by this point. It's what the fuck is going on, honestly, so dumb. The design, it just, they're all identical outfits. I don't feel really negatively about those outfits, but it's all the same thing. And I don't like the wings. It's just so glittery. It doesn't have enough dimension. The transformation, I'm not opposed to dancing in transformations per se, or even in spells. I actually think that it's a cool thing to explore, and it has been used before in Winx, and it has been done really well before. Musa had dancing moments in her Believix and Serang's transformations that worked pretty well. And we've also seen dancing being a source of power, or a source of a power up in a specific situation. When Musa defeated Stormy by using a dance that she learned from Aisha, and Aisha learned that dance from farmers on Andros. So that dance was kind of multiplying, magnifying her powers that she could easily defeat Stormy. So I'm actually all for it. It could be done, and it could be done well, but it's just not great in this case. The dancing animation in season 5 and up is just terrible, and I've said that before, I've made fun of it before. I just don't like the way that the animation looks when they dance. It looks like they are breaking their bones all the time. Episode 4. The girls are back to present, and Bloom sees this statue of a Digmole, and she kind of goes, oh, I guess we changed something in the past that kind of influenced the present. And they just kind of go, and move on from it, like it's nothing. And then these damn fruit outfits.
Girlfriend, stop! Get back in the car!
And they're coupling up again. No one's gonna say hello to anyone else but their boyfriend. Don't forget, you either perform the hetero shit or you're rehearsing for performance of the hetero shit.
Riven is no longer part of my life.
Life has a way of leading us to focus mainly on ourselves. Mainly on ourselves.
Mainly on ourselves.
I mean, I know what they were going for, but it sounds really funny when Bloom says it. Especially Bloom from season 4 and up. Then something so cringe and so hetero happens. It definitely went beyond the usual levels, because it's always been a thing in Winx, but this is just too much. They tell the guys about their mission, and at first they're like, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Action.
A mission. And then they realize that it's a search-based mission, and they kind of deflate. And then Stella says, I know this is a job for girls, but you boys might be a little help. Specialist dividing missions into girl and boy missions. That's new. Then when they find some nature thing, whatever, Hylia is acting like Nex or Rivet. He wants to like disturb the nature to just ask some questions or something like that. And it just doesn't make any sense because Hylia is just a pacifist, meditation-obsessed doodler. Why is this conflict given to him and Flora, that he's disrupting nature and Flora needs to tell him not to do that? That makes no sense. The girls use powers that they've never used before in this episode, and they kind of just like know what to do. They never like get used to anything, and we don't quite know why they needed Butterflix anyway, especially in situations where they're not fighting Kalshara and Barphilia specifically, right? A good thing in this episode and across this season is that some animals have cute interactions and they're kind of cute themselves, which I think it's probably something that kids would like. The only thing that warrants a sticky note, though, is the fact that Barphilia gets the stone to time travel from Roxy. He kind of steals it. And this is like such a like not as subtle way for writers to be like, yeah, we're gonna exclude Roxy from now on. Episode 5. Aisha finds Squonk, her bonded animal. He is a cry-cry. I don't like the name of this type of animal, but whatever. And everyone always says that he's like hideous within the show. It's so annoying. He's not weirder than any other animal that we meet in the show. So why is everyone being so annoying? I don't get it. Justice for Squonk, okay? So a sticky note for that. Episode 6. filler of pixies and animals, and Winx are in class again. Aisha gives a speech about this connection that she feels with the animal, which is a bit funny to witness at this point in the show because of how they always bond with some creatures every season and then those creatures just disappear afterwards. They can just go fuck themselves at the end of the season, I guess. I wonder if these animals are gonna disappear at the end of the season. Filler. Then we get a stupid ass interaction between Flora and Meale. Flora literally left Meale last season to fend for herself at the Linfeo College. Flora just left to go train and have a party while Meale is like fighting some creatures or whatever. But in this season, Flora is acting like Meale can't come to this animal rescue mission. Okay, well, she's grown to deal with that problem in season 6, and they had this whole moment of like, oh, you've grown up, but now she's back to being like a baby that she can't take to missions. It doesn't make any sense. It's just we keep on getting the same character development or the same interaction or same conflict each and every time, and I'm not going to count that one, even though I'm being generous today, because it's not a progression if we keep on having the same problem presented and resolved over and over and over again. Okay, they start fighting these massive suction cups that are kind of gross, and Bloom says it's time to get serious, and then she proceeds to transform into the most unserious transformation thus far.
It's time to get serious.
The damn clap dance is so long. All of a sudden they can shoot beams of energy with Butterflix, even though they weren't able to do that an episode ago. I don't understand, like there's no logic to Butterflix, what they can and cannot do. It's just all over the place, you know? Yay, consistency. Episode 7, too many Stella gags, and they're all stupid. I miss the time when she used to be cool. One plot point happens. Flora meets Amrock. Episode 8, we open with Nex being a little bitch, alright? Saying, just like a girl, insists that it goes their way whether it makes sense or not. And Aisha doesn't say anything. Aisha, you must be fucking kidding me. Just, what is going on? Since when is Aisha, who would shut Riven up, prove the guys wrong in terms of them expecting her not to be able to do things, all of a sudden she would just let this slide and just be okay with it, not even give him a dirty look or anything? Seriously? Who is this show for? Why is there just like casual misogyny sprinkled around? Who is this for? This show was always really feminine. Now it's basically targeted at very young girls, like 3-year-olds, and it's still they need to just like sprinkle misogyny around. Like, what the fuck is this for? And then Nex calls Squonk ugly.
As hard as I try, he's still so ugly.
Aw.
And Aisha just says, you shouldn't have said that to him, Nex. That's so mild in this situation. She should have said back something like, no, he isn't, what the fuck? You know, like, why are you being mean to my little cry? Like, why are you being such a dick? He looks kind of cute. He's fluffy and adorable. What's your problem? When I was little, I used to feel just so upset about that Doug Pepe being abused. But at least it was the villains who were doing that, right? With this, it just doesn't make any sense because Nex is supposed to be the good guy. Ugh, I want to punch him so bad. Can you tell I'm an Aries moon? Episode 9. We get Orlando, the dude who's interested in Musa. Of course, he lasts like an episode and a half because Musa can't have nice things and the writers always need to be throwing curveballs at her. I don't understand why she can't catch a break.
Can you concentrate now?
This guy. Anyway, a sticky note for Musa meeting Critty. Episode 10. So much filler. Just holy shit. There's like 6 minutes of animals just fucking shit up in a room and specialists preparing a welcome party for Critty and like acting weird, being upset that a cat isn't looking at them.
Critty hasn't so much as looked at us since we've been here.
After we put so much effort into organizing her welcome party too.
Or another moment of this insufferable masculine shit going on when Nex does the bare minimum of just being neutral to Squonk, saying, hey buddy, don't make a mess and be nice, and then proceeds to flex to like show that he is masculine or something. I don't know. That was so weird. And then we get such an exaggerated reaction from Roxy. Girl, what the hell is going on? I've never seen the reaction that extreme in Winx. First she does the and then she's like, well, you don't have to worry about things, girls.
Girls,
You don't need to worry about these little incidents.
I don't understand. She indoctrinates the Winx into her cult.
This is all part of a bigger plan that involves all of you. I feel it.
Yeah. And then they go to villains. Stella meets Shiny. And there is so much underwhelming fighting going on. It's insane. The Winx are so weak now.
I am a fairy. Ha! You call that magic?
Stella comes in to save the day, and she says that she needs Shiny because Shiny can generate sunlight even at night.
But I need solar energy. And Shiny can actually recreate the sun's light even at night. I smell a rat.
Congratulations everybody, we have made it to a point where Stella is neither a moon fairy nor a sun one. At the end they need to escape and they can't teleport. Why? Nobody knows. I mean, Stella is there, they could have used their Butterflix power, but okay, let's assume that they cannot transform into other transformations at this point. They could have still used that sparkly thing when they just teleport for no reason, like they've been doing that anyway. So then we have another party and Fevral that says that she's like proud of them, and it's so stupid because it's like, really? This fight? You're proud of them? They literally stopped the tricks that had the Dragon's Flame in season 1 when they only had magic Winx. And you're proud of them now? Episode 11. A bird falls in love with Brandon.
What the?
The animals are consistently treated as Winx kids, so this is Freudian as hell. The Winx are all dressed up the same way again. I'm not like mad at the outfits. Their hairstyles are ridiculously big. They keep on getting bigger and bigger with each season. It made sense when they had really big hair and really long hair for Enchantix, but in this case it's just like so overbearing, it's ridiculous. We're going to Earth again. Finally, we're using a damn owl to travel, but guess what? The Earth Princess Fairy, that happens to be a fairy of animals, isn't going to Earth to save Earth animals. I'll give you a second to ruminate on that. The fairy animals that fuck around all day and mess things up are coming, but she isn't. Roxy, no, it's too much, because what if she takes a dump on Brandon's lap? What are they gonna do then? They make Stella crush the owl with her fashion show, her animal fashion show, and at the end, the animals that they saved, it was like a bunch of like little cubs of like tiger cubs. They are being played with by the poachers, the people who actually kind of their parents. It's supposed to be like cute, but it's kind of gnarly. Episode 12. We go to Zenith. Zenith looks cute. Techna meets Flitter. Episode 13. Flora gets attacked and screams for an extended period of time. It just feels so like long. These cages have magic that's stronger than ours.
These cages have magic that's stronger than ours.
Are we serious? They're so weak now. Let's hope Bloom will figure something out.
Let's just hope Bloom figures something out.
I also wrote in my notes that at this point, I just need you to know that I'm barely making it through, okay? Episode 14. The first 5 minutes are pure filler. Then the animals are like, hey, where are the guardians of the ultimate power? And yeah, that's oh wait, I forgot to put the Bloom meets Ellis. Okay. And then the next one is the Winx animals are actually guardians of the ultimate power. And they're given stones again, but yeah, technically they're embedded in bracelets, but it's still same idea. And that is a power of Tynix, okay? At least we know where the hell that power is coming from, but it's weird because we're introduced to this power before we're introduced to a problem that it needs to solve, or it would be introduced to solve. So it's a little bit out of order and it's a little bit weird. I do like the song, don't really care that much for the transformation sequence, it's okay. The designs are okay, but again, copy paste, nothing special. We get a fight between this like monster and animals, and then Kalshara and the Winx. And I swear to God, it's like the creators forgot about intercutting scenes. It's like they forgot that you could actually show both fights happening at the same time. We see one fight going on, and then Winx and Kalshara in the background not doing anything, and vice versa. It just makes no sense. Just what is going on with direction and storyboarding at this point? This is also Pyros, but for some reason I like did not recognize it as Pyros. It didn't feel like it was Pyros. Let me know if you thought that something was off about the way that they like drew it or something. I don't know, it just doesn't have the same vibe.
But only my creature can bring the magic fire back to the volcano.
Okay, Kalshar. Episode 15. We see a flashback to season 3 where Bloom was on Pyrus trying to get her Enchantix power. Weirdly enough, the animation kind of makes it feel like it's not just doesn't feel right. It makes sense because the animation definitely is not very Winx-like, so I'm not like too surprised, you know. So Winx go inside the Pyrus fire with the help of Tynix. I don't quite get why Tynix is all crystals themed. I can come up with like 100 explanations and 100 ideas, but I don't think that they actually explained it in this show. I really like the idea of mini worlds actually. I think that it's quite cute. I think that their execution in terms of like coming up with a bunch of mini worlds inside of things that are magical things, it makes sense. It's kind of nice. I like that. And I like that the time moves differently there. It explains how fairies can transform and have this whole transformation sequence, while to others is just a second of time, right? Like that's a perfect explanation for that. I wish they kind of brought it up because that would be such a cool explanation. Creatures in the mini worlds are really cute too, so you know. Episode 16. This episode doesn't have voices, only soundtrack and effect sounds on YouTube. I looked through it, like I didn't miss out on anything. Like it doesn't matter if the voices are even in the show. Like episode 17. We are in another mini world where Stella is attacked by some chipmunks, or I mean leafies, because she like upset the balance of nature when Brandon gave her flowers that he picked. By the way, I like this shiny effect on Tynix, like on the wings especially. It looks kind of cute. I'm glad that they were talking about respecting nature. That's really nice to mention for kids.
They are the true colors of nature.
Girl, what? Whatever. A lot of swimming and laughing with no plot follows. Like straight up like 5 minutes of the episode, just giggling and swimming. Episode 18.
Guys, this is our last chance. And our last... Get off, you stupid banana!
I had to go get a drink. There's still 8 episodes left. Just compare how cool this is.
You guys okay?
And this.
They're multiplying.
Are you kidding me? 2 in a row? We went from Stella and Brandon flirting with like a bunch of people trying to see how many numbers or how many like flirtatious interactions they can get, and comparing them to this. To them being animals' crushes. In seasons with lowered age demographic. Because apparently censoring content means taking out romance between people and adding romance between animals. Episode 19. Another party. Oh, teleporting exists again. Of course it does, because it's needed for the story.
I'm Ribel, queen of the furries.
Of course you are. Remember when I said that characters need to stop saying that some animals are ugly? It was before I saw this horse.
Girlfriend, stop! Get back in the car!
Tell me why I felt bad after saying that. The Winx asked the magic horse to tell them who the animal with the ultimate power is. The horse basically says it's someone close to the fairies. And it's like, okay, well, so stupid. Episode 20.
Can you leave us alone?
Sky, don't tell me you're jealous of Elos.
I'm just a simple animal.
Is he more important than me?
How can you be so insensitive?
It's filler upon filler. They become kids, blah blah blah. And for some reason, Alice's spell was a fix for the situation. It doesn't make any sense either. Episode 21. The Winx are putting on a show with animals, which wouldn't that be considered bad based on what they were saying in the previous episodes, the episodes in the past when Thea, I don't get it. Followed by the dogman getting beaten. Butterflix without the transformation part, just the dance, is literally 50 seconds long. This is insane. This is an insane amount of time for a choreography like that too. Episode 22. Remember that animal we were looking for since episode 2 or 3? The one that's like the first color of the universe. Yeah. No one does, no one remembers. But in this episode, it turns out that that animal is a diamond statue of a digmole. That's not an animal, that's a statue. This is so annoying. The Winx are in another mini world, and at like 10:56 Flora says, "These plants are a perfect mix of nature and diamonds." What the fuck do you think diamonds are? Geology of matter falls under nature. What the hell is going on? The ultimate power turns out to be just like a random diamond. Then, at 2020 of this episode, the ultimate power diamond, the strongest material that is even resistant to magic, according to this episode, slips out of Butterflix's hands, lands on soft ground, and breaks at contact. Then it enters Butterflix, like the power escapes the diamond, enters Butterflix, so Butterflix has ultimate power now, so otherwise you wouldn't be. And then all of a sudden the tricks are back. Like, I understand why they're back. It's very lazy though, and stupid, but whatever. At least something happened, I guess. Episode 23. Flora is under a bunch of rocks and the Winx can't even put a dent in it, okay? But the other diamond from the same orchard of diamonds broke on impact with soft ground. The Winx are officially weaker than goddamn gravity. Flora is saved by Amrock. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Butterflix sometimes just starts with static images sliding across the screen with some sparkles on the screen. What is happening? This is so lazy. I cannot believe that this is real. One of the first attacks, there's not like a beam of light or something. One of the first, obviously there was a couple of other ones, was Stormy's tornado spell. Thank you, Stormy. The fight scenes are so bad. Look at Stella and Tekna struggling inside of the tornado. They're like reaching out to each other, and as soon as they touch, they are unaffected without them using magic or anything. Then we see the heart of Althea. What's up? It's a heart, alright. They enter it and it looks kind of cute, but like whatever. I don't know, I'm just so pissed at this point because it just makes no sense. And we're on episode 23 already. This is all that happened, with like 4 of the stickers just being me baffled by Beastie. Episode 24. What's up? Oh, Althea's students remembered how to transform. Winx go to past Althea again, and guess what? They accidentally stop the principal from erasing the memories of everybody. So technically, the principal doesn't erase the memories, and Fergonda remembers everything, so why doesn't she remember it in the present? Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
She mustn't know anything about her future.
Don't be too hard on your future students. It's been a while since I was here.
Do you know it?
Why are we pretending like we care about continuity? Writers, you don't. Filler. Episode 25. The Winx found the butterfly that's supposed to like save the heart of Althea. What the hell is that? The butterfly doesn't even have a body or like some sort of head. The mini world was also okay before the attack, but the butterfly was asleep for so long, and the other mini world was not doing well, but it didn't affect the other mini world. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. Oh my god. At least we've got Roxy using her power as well in a fairy form.
They still have the ultimate power.
Let's let them go for the time being.
This is a day to celebrate.
Yes!
A party, while the ultimate power is with the villains.
Yes!
The first 3 seasons Winx would never do such a thing. Like, they would never do something like that.
To obey like a good doggy, perhaps we'll give you a nice bath.
Okay. A plot point happens. Kalshara proposes truce so she could like save Butterflix. Episode 26. Winx and Trix are fighting, and the animals are gonna use the ultimate spell. The writers really like the word ultimate, don't they, huh? So the animals are gonna do this spell, and like they can't say goodbye to their bonded Winx because they're going to become one, and they don't have time. And because of how clumsy everything is, the way that they edited it, it just kind of reads as like satire or something really funny instead of being really touching. I do love Squonk though, I do. So they morph together into
the Infinity Swan. Fear me.
The Winx use their time travel stones, and they like easily take the stone from Butterflix, like from inside of him. It just like loads over to them. Why didn't they do it earlier if it's so easy? Oh yeah, the Infinity Swan. Sticky. The villains are defeated. Kalshara kind of a dickhead because she said that she cares about her brother, but she doesn't, blah blah blah. Butterflix is just like chilling with a bunch of other animals, and he's like a little dog. The bonded animals didn't like transform back. Why? I don't know, man. For drama, I guess. Oh wait, they can just go fuck themselves at the end of the season, I guess. So this is the season. 26 episodes. Only this much stuff happened. None of it is consequential, none of it is interesting, and no character development except for this minimal character development for Fevral that's not consequential, and of course a lot of character development for me, who's traumatized by all the in this goddamn show. I fucking hated that, okay? This was the worst season so far, and I know I keep on saying it, but god damn it. Like, how does it just keep getting worse? I have a Patreon now. I'm gonna post a video for this month soon. I've been editing it. A few new people joined the party. Ali W, Paige, anyways, Sina, or Sina? I would assume it's Sina, and Rowan Tree. Thank you, patrons, for supporting me there, and I hope that you're enjoying the extra content. I'll see you guys soon. This was too much. Just watching it, writing about it, rewatching it to write details in, and then having to film it twice because the audio was busted. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye!